Welcome, everyone. This is Jessica Motter, your host for the Empowering Freedom podcast. I am the author of the book, Love Life, Be Life, Share Life book. We are so excited to be with you today. We have an amazing guest, Rex Sikes, with us. Rex is going to be sharing more with you about what he does, how he helps people. And I'm excited to be on here with you today and have you hear his message. So Rex, take it away.
Well, I love the title of your book because we should love life. My book is Life on Your Terms, Create the Life That You Want. It's all about, making the most of what we have and being grateful for what we have so that we can experience more. A lot of people have a lot and yet don't experience any abundance, prosperity, health, or wellness because they're not grateful for what it is they have. I constantly get, called into millionaire and billionaires' homes and they go, look at everything I have. I've got the car, the boat, the jet, the trophy spouse, everything I could ever want, but I'm not happy. And I'm like, okay, I understand, and then there are those people who have almost nothing. They live in a dirt hut. They've got dirt floor. They eat dirt for lunch and dinner, and breakfast. And they're thrilled and they're delighted that they're alive and they're connected with their family and friends and their community, and they live a productive life. So it's like that poem about the person who's in the prison cell and they look out and one sees the bars and the other person sees the stars, through the cell window. And it's truly about how do you make the most of life and enjoy it. So
Yes.
I've been doing this for almost 50 years. I started as a kid, literally. I started teaching hypnosis and meditation at the age of 11, and as well as magic tricks like at the YMCA with people. And but I ultimately, when I became a teenager, I was teaching hypnosis in Hollywood and California and doing workshops, and that led into meditation workshops. I ran a meditation center. I'm known as an authority and a contributor to the field of NLP, law of attraction, Napoleon Hill, and other thought leaders. My work is blending the East and the West and making a blueprint that people can easily follow step by step to do things simply and with fun, because if you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it. And so I try and make things fun and easy and bite-sized so people can do it so that they can enjoy the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I was on a Zoom yesterday with Jean, and she was telling me she was working on her first book, and she was like, I'm struggling to even write anything right now. And yet that she was telling me about, going out into her garden and gardening and how much joy that brought her. And I said, Jean, what about like going out and gardening, and then after you're done with gardening, coming in and writing after you're inspired, right? After you have been doing the things that bring you joy, why not come in and write after that? When I wrote my first book, I literally did it mostly on the elliptical or on a treadmill or on the track at the gym, so that I wouldn't, trip outside on a crack. And they say break your mother's back, right? Step on a crack, break your mother's back. So I would do that, but literally I had to be inspired. I had to have movement in there. Maybe it was ADD, maybe it was ADHD or whatever it is. I don't know what, but it got me focused. It got me to have clarity, and it got my brain working in such a creative way. So I love that you help people live life on their terms, and, just explaining like, some people literally live in places you think they would be the happiest, but they're the most miserable people. And it's so true. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I love what you said, because one of the things that I oftentimes start off programs and workshops with, what is it that stops most people? And get a variety of answers, but the simple answer is a thought. It's a mental packet of energy that produces electrochemical response inside the body that produces our feelings. And we either feel like doing something or we feel like not doing it. We either get, thrilled and excited and exhilarated and go, yes, let me at it. Or we go, no, that's not for me. I'm scared. I'm terrified. And people tend to either drag their past with them, something that no longer exists. If I got punched in the face at 7,
right.
I mean, the person who punched me may be dead now, so if I'm keeping that alive, whether I was abused or mistreated or survivor or something, if I keep that alive and think about it every day, I'm the person doing it to me. Nobody's doing it to me. That person is long gone. The experience is long gone, but I keep it alive by what I do between my ears or inside my being. And or if I'm worried about the future and I'm thinking, oh, I don't want that, I dread that, I can't have that, I'm a fearful, or I'm worried about it, again, it's a thought, and it's producing hormones and neurotransmitters and chemicals in me that either produces dread or fear or anger or hate or whatever, or desire and willingness to be able to do something. So what you said is about movement, because I often will say to people is the same thing as what does stuck imply? If I'm stuck, what does it imply? Lack of movement. You can have your car stuck in the mud or stuck in the snow, and you can be spinning your tires, but you're not moving anywhere. There's a flurry of activity, but it's not productive. And when people get stuck, it means that they're frozen. They're stuck. They're not getting anywhere, they're not going anywhere. So I have for 40 years taught therapists, psychiatrists, neurosurgeons, and doctors, everything. When somebody presents you with a problem, instead of sitting face to face, kind of like what we are, on Zoom right now, get up and go for a walk with the person, stand with them and walk and move. Because when you're moving and your body is moving, and the ancients knew this. They said, if you're depressed, go work in the garden. If you're angry, count to 10, take some time, and then, allow yourself to move. But don't jump into things too hastily. But if you're stuck, don't stay frozen, actually create movement. So some people go for a drive in order to think. Some people go for a walk in order to think. But there's an actual physiological response that happens when you're out in nature and you're walking. And if you're barefoot, or if you're next to water, or if you're in the forest, all of that contributes to your well-being and your health, mental health, and everything. So if you're stuck, move, go do something.
Right.
Now, when it came to writing, I've written numerous books that I've not published. And I always hated writing because I was a perfectionist and I wanted to make sure I got it right the first time so nobody could criticize me, so I could answer. And you can't, even in our conversation, we could have one point and not be able to exhaust it for decades,
Right.
It's just the way of nature. But what I did back around, 2009 or something, I started writing a daily blog, which meant every day I would get up and I would write. And at first it took me a couple of hours, then it took me an hour, then it took me a half hour, it took me 15 minutes. Now I can do it in a matter of moments, but I still write. I have never missed a day.
Wow, that's impressive.
I know. So in all these years, I've never missed a day. I haven't published all of them. I've published 8 or 10 years of it. The other ones were like on Facebook, which are now lost, but this, my own thing, is now 8 or 10 years or something of daily blogs. It's gratitudeactivator.com is the blog site. But what it did was it taught me to be able to write. And, I also come from a film background and a screenwriter background. And I deal with people who all the time go, I have writer's block. I can't think, I can't release, I can't. So one of the things you do is you go, what is it that I want to tell my audience? What do I want them to see, hear, feel? What do I want to say? And then go do something else. And then as you do, your brain will start delivering you ideas, then come back and either record them because you'll lose them, or write them down with a pad and paper, or do something and then come back and write your blog. And it helps unleash the creativity because you're moving, which is what you said.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I totally believe that. It's interesting because right before the Zoom I had that you came in at the same time, it was literally, we went out for a walk right before that.
Okay.
Got into movement, and my friend was like, she's here with me working, and we're talking, like we're kind of tired, and I was like, we just need to get out and move. That's all it is. Our brains are like, you've been sitting here for hours, let's get up and move. And the energy shifts. And while I'm out there, I had people reach out to me to have conversations with them. I've got a big project that we're working on right now, launching, and that law of attraction, the gratitude, all of those things. I was literally teaching Angela upstairs, like I literally write my gratitudes every single day. And it's something that I've done. I would say 2019, 2017, I started reading the book, The Magic, by the same author of The Secret. And I, from then on, started writing gratitudes. But it's so true. Like you can have everything. I mean, I so bad wanted to have kids, and then I had kids. Then you have kids and you're like, wait a second. I didn't know it was going to be like this. Right. And you're like, through the meltdowns, through the tantrums, you're like, okay, wait a second. Like, I'm grateful for these moments because I prayed for these moments. I was, I'm grateful that I was able to have kids. I'm grateful my body was able to do that. I'm grateful that they're happy and they're healthy. And, I'm teaching them, like what kindness is all about. And they're kind, and they, like their teachers, all the time are saying they're so kind to their friends at school. And I believe that, like what you reap, what you sow, right? And so you describing some of these things at Life on Your Terms is such a good lesson. And it's things that I've been teaching people. I started doing interviews with people on LinkedIn who had lost their jobs. 2016, I was freed from corporate America. I took it as, instead of losing my job, getting fired, I took it as my moment to be an entrepreneur and not look back. And so I stepped into that. And it was like, at first, like jumping into a pool, not knowing how to swim, but I just kept paddling, kept working, kept moving, right? Kept moving. And here we are, just about 7 years later. So it's been a complete blessing, and I'm able to do things with my family that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So it's been awesome and amazing. So I do those interviews with people and they're kind of stuck, right? They just lost their job, right? They think it's like the end of the world, but really it's like that beginning of their new story.
Right.
And like you said, living life on their terms.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do a lot of different things. And I mean, if people want to know more about me, they could just do a Google search or Bing or, whatever, search engine, and I'll find plenty of stuff about me and ways to hook up and link up and that kind of thing. But two stories. The best thing I ever did was decide to have children. I have two. And I told my wife at the time, I said, I will not change a diaper. Don't expect me to do any of that. That you want the kids, you get to do that. I don't want to. And if they cry and they're annoying, then you get to deal with it, because I'm not going to do that. I'm happy to have them. I'm making my deposit, but you take care of them. The second that my daughter, my firstborn, was born, everything changed. I'm like, I want to be right there. I want to be present. I want to be in this person's life forever. Anything I can do to make them comfortable. But what I realized was I would go into the room to put her to sleep, and sometimes she would cry, and I would rock her in a chair and I would hold her and I just go, I'm here until you're done. I mean, it was for me to surrender my time and my wants and my desires and my needs to be able to hold this little girl and just rock her until she slept. And sometimes it took hours and sometimes it took minutes, but I was in for that because that was my commitment. And because I did want children, I'm like, I'm good with this. Now, the other example is not nearly as profound, but I make movies, I produce, I direct, I act. I've been doing that since I was a teenager. And some of the projects that you get hired onto are just absolute nightmare, horrible, worst conditions. Everybody's fighting, everybody hates each other, nothing's going right, nothing's going well. And they're the kind of thing you want to flee from. And I did one of those about 12 years ago. I was on one. I just, for months, 4 months, I was on this project. And I was like, every moment I wanted to flee, kind of. Except where the change came is I went, I am living the dream. This is what I always want to do. And sometimes it's wonderful and sometimes it's horrible, but I'm making a movie. That's what I signed on for. And so it's hard and it's difficult and there's some nasty people, but so what? And my tagline on my blog and in everything I do is celebrate everything. When you realize that everything that life offers you, the hard times, the good times, the disappointing times, the loss of loved ones, the acquisition of wealth or health, the turn of the tide, whatever it may be, it's all a gift so that we can become more aware and actually celebrate more of all of it. It's not about getting to the destination. This journey of 1,000 miles, I say, they say begins with a single step, and I disagree. Well, it does, but it starts with a step in your head to decide to go on the journey.
Right.
And the next step that you take is the one on the ground. And in order to go on the journey, you have to do both. You have to decide to go, and then you have to actually take the steps. And step by step, you go 1,000 miles. And it could be 1,000 miles of hell or 1,000 miles of heaven. And whatever it is, or it could be both, like roller coaster rides, so have ups and downs.
Right.
It could be both, but you may or may not ever make it to the 1,000 miles. You may transition from the planet, you may change your mind, you may quit, you may decide to go somewhere else, but you may not make the destination. The destination, while important, is not nearly as important as how you travel toward the destination.
Right.
So every day you're grateful, and if everything is a gift and everything is an opportunity or possibility for you to become more aware, more conscious, more filled with love, more compassionate, more peaceful, more healthy, more happy, and all that kind of stuff, then whether you have things or don't have things, whether things work out or don't work out, doesn't really matter so much, because you're being fulfilled in the moment wherever you are. So if you're here in your journey and you're feeling wonderful, and you're here in your journey and you're feeling wonderful, and you're here in your journey and feeling wonderful, you're wonderful all along the way. And that's how I teach people to live their lives, is to live in the moment, because that's all you really have. And if you're
Absolutely.
grateful now, you can be grateful later. But if you allow things to contaminate or spoil that, that's just a thought. That's just hanging on to a notion that has nothing to do with anything, because whatever's spoiled at this moment, it's gone the next moment, except for the thought that the person thinks about in their head.
Yes, it's so true. And I feel like if you're not going to be happy with where you are now, you're not going to be happy when you have the things you think you need. And honestly, most of everything that you think you need, I mean, it's already happened. It's already created for you. You just have to be willing to step into that and accept it and believe that you deserve it.
Sure.
Also, right? And I feel like there's people who, my bracelet's stuck on my shirt. This is the fun part about doing things online, right? You can only see from here down or from here up. So the great thing is, you know, we can be grateful. And I feel like the people who are more grateful, it's like all the good things happen to them, to the people that are not grateful, right? I'll have people say, oh, well, all the good things. I'm like, because I'm grateful. I'm happy for everything, whether it's good, whether it's bad. I'm learning from it. I'm growing from it. Some people, you know, see, oh my gosh, it's raining today. And I'm like, well, that just means there's going to be some flowers for spring, right? That just means we have sunshine coming up, right? Because how many dark days can you actually have? Like eventually there's going to be sunshine. So, you know, like it's all of that at the same time.
So, I mean, I wrote the book, Life on Your Terms, my book. I do programs online and live events. I've been doing them, you know, since the 70s. You know, all in order to help people end suffering and enhance what they do. I really like people who go, I do this well, but I want to do it better. You know, I'm an athlete, but I want to be an Olympic champion. I love that, as opposed to somebody who goes, I'm broken and life sucks. But you know what? It's about ending suffering and helping people get from where they are to where they want to be, to bridge that gap, and to do so in a way that's loving and gentle and kind and nurturing and permissive, so that they can step by step get to where they want. And that's why, you know, Life on Your Terms. But I'm going to tell you briefly a little thing that happened last couple of days in the dog park.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, beautiful girl dogs. They are the friendliest, most loving, kind, gentle creatures ever. I mean, if ever God created an incredible pair of creatures, these two girl dogs, one who's with me right now, the other one's down.
What kind of dogs?
They're both pit bulls.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
No, and they're smart and they're gentle. They've never had an incident. They've been attacked, but they've never. I tell you this because they've never attacked anything or bit back or anything. They'll stand on the ground, but they've never reciprocated the bite. This little one next to me has been bitten a number of times and she's never bit back. But she'll say, "Okay, it's enough. Stop." Right.
Right.
But, so yeah, yesterday or the day before, I was in the dog park and the little one ran off because she loves to say hi. Everybody at the dog park knows her as the greeter. She greets dogs and humans, kids, babies, everybody. They love this girl. So she ran off, and I have her on an electronic leash, a sound collar, so that if they get outside of where I could see them, I could call them back without any problem. But she ran off, and I see her, she's running, so I just beeped the collar, and she stopped for a moment. Well, this woman was probably about 20 or 30 yards away from the dog. And she's yelling at me that my dog ran at her. But she didn't get there. I mean, she didn't even get within 20 yards of her. I mean, she's and she's like, your dog ran at me. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. But she stopped. She goes, but she ran at me. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, your dog ran at me. She shouldn't be running at me. And she yelled at me for about 15 or 20 minutes, just kept yelling at me and yelling at me. And I finally said, lady, would you stop yelling at me? And the point I'm trying to make is nothing happened. I mean, now she might have been afraid. She might have said, oh, it's a pit bull. She might not have known what kind of dog it was, anything. But this technically what was going on is this friendly dog is running toward a person. Now, I get she's a dog owner. She had her own dog. But what I'm getting at is people could be frightened by dogs. They could be frightened by pit bulls. They could, any number of things. But nothing happened.
Right.
The dog didn't get to her, didn't lick her, didn't sniff her, didn't bark at her, didn't do anything, just ran a certain amount and stopped, turned around and came back. But this woman went on for 15 or 20 minutes about how the dog had run at her. Now, my point in that is not to make the woman wrong, but to say this is what most of us do.
Right.
We hang on to a thought about things that don't occur or didn't occur or might never occur, or if it did occur, but we don't let it go. And we keep it alive and we let it agitate us and we get upset and we, the whole thing. And none of it has any basis in reality. Maybe there was a trigger, an event or something like that, but now it's gone. So 20 minutes after the dog had run over there, she's still going on about it. But the dog is off around the side. She can't see the dog. But this woman nonstop was ranting at me and then saying, I'm going to call the cops. I'm like, go ahead. I'm sorry the dog ran in your direction.
Mhm.
But if you want,
Yeah.
if you feel better calling the police, go ahead.
Yeah.
And
The
they
dog,
didn't.
yeah, the dog didn't have any type of feelings around that, but the person does, right? The human
well,
does.
and it's like, and the other side of it is, what do you want me to do about it now? You know what
Right.
I mean? In other words, I'm apologized. I've said I'm sorry, but it's not about making her wrong. She did whatever she did, however she did it. My point is, and it's not about me, it's not about the dogs, but it's how we keep things alive as a problem that may not even be a problem.
Right.
And so many people, because of how they chronically think about things or acutely in the moment something comes up, they talk about fear being false evidence appearing real. Well, all limitations is false evidence appearing real. All limiting beliefs is false evidence appearing real, or it wouldn't be a limitation, you
Right.
know? So often we get caught up with things there's two ways to look at the past. Some people look at the past and go, it was horrible, it's so bad, and they keep that alive. Another person looks back at the past and goes, it's so good, nothing compares to what it was. Those were the good old days, and it'll never be like that again.
Right.
And both the good days and the bad days are gone. Now, if I have a choice, which one would I like to keep a memory of? Well, obviously the good ones, right?
Mhm.
But I could extract learnings and lessons from the bad ones and release and let them go so that I can move forward. Same thing with the future. Future could look really great or it could look really bad, but it hasn't happened yet. So you get to decide which one you want to go into. But the evidence that we have inside our head, the false evidence appearing real, will determine where we go.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I know what you do and what I do is trying to connect people up with their resources so that they can live the kind of life that they would enjoy and make the kind of connections both inside their head and with other people so that they can have the kind of life that they really want to have.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Rex, what's the best place for someone to find you? Is it rexsikes.com?
RexSikes.com. They can go there and find me. Like I said, they can just search my name. That's the correct spelling. That's my website. And if they go, they can sign up for my newsletter. They'll get a free gift. And if they get my book and they come back with, like, say, we get it from Amazon, they come back with the book code, they go to that website, there's actually a place they can put that. And I'll give them a bonus training for $497, absolutely free.
Okay.
Mastering thoughts and feelings and behaviors to be more happy, healthy, wealthy, and successful.
Okay.
And they should do it. I've been doing this for 40, 50 years, helping people make lots of money and feel really good and get over, different kinds of, so if they want to know more, come and visit.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rex. It's been a blessing to get to know you better and have a few minutes with you. I know we can definitely be on here. I could probably talk to you for hours. So we'll have to connect again. But I appreciate your time and being on the show today. Thanks so much for being here. And we'll connect with you and I'll post up everything so our listeners can be connecting with you. Thank you.
And thank you so much for the opportunity and to be able to share with you and your visitors. And thank you so much for the work that you do on and off camera.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.